Microsoft, it has been revealed, is now training its own in-house AI model to essentially compete with Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI, which it has a partnership with. The information is reporting that this new model is internally referred to as MAI-1 and is being overseen by Mustafa Suleyman, the former CEO of AI startup Inflection, which was essentially acquired by Microsoft a couple months ago. Now, according to that reporting, this is a new model. It's not one that Inflection had built, though the model may build on Inflection's training data and its technology. MAI-1 will be about 500 billion parameters in size. Now, for comparison, the information reports that GPT-4 has over 1 trillion parameters, but smaller models that are very good from Meta and Mistral have around 70 billion, though there's a version of Llama coming out that'll have 405 billion. So people who are close to this told the information that it's not clear yet what purpose the new model will serve, and it'll depend on how well it performs. But they did say Microsoft could potentially preview the new model as soon as later this month during its Build developer conference. So, Paul, I think the big question that initially jumps out to me until we get more details is, why is Microsoft doing this and why now? Like, they already have access to frontier models thanks to the partnership with OpenAI.
I think everybody's just playing all bets here. Amazon's doing the same thing. Google's doing the same thing. Like, I don't think we know how the winners play out here. And I think there's probably going to be room in the market for big frontier models and smaller on device models. And some people are, Microsoft customers may want to work with a third party model, but have their data in Azure. And some may want to work exclusively with Microsoft. Like, the market is so early that there's just no way to predict this. And I don't think Microsoft wants to be left out of the frontier model game. Like, they may end up realizing they can build a bigger, better model than OpenAI can. And, they wouldn't want to miss that opportunity. So Microsoft's got all the resources in the world to do this. They got the data centers, they got, the data, they've got the engineers. It just seems like it would be silly to not be pursuing all paths right now until we see more how this plays out.
All right, let's dive into some rapid fires this week. So, first up, the founders of Anthropic just did a longer interview with Bloomberg that touched on a number of hot button issues in AI. So, this interview was with Dario Amodei, co founder and CEO of Anthropic, and his sister, Daniela Amodei, who's co founder and president of the company. Now, the interview touched on a number of subjects, including AI scaling laws, Anthropic's attempt to build responsible AI, and also how afraid we should all be of AI advancements and development. Now, on that last point, first up, Dario kind of mentioned that he fully expects us, due to scaling laws, to increase AI's capabilities by 1,000-fold in the next few years. And second, when asked if we should be excited or fearful about this future, he said, quote, "You should be both at the same time." He said that people ask him, "How excited or worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10? He said, quote, "I'm 10 out of 10 excited and I'm 10 out of 10 worried as well." So, Paul, I think that, I don't know if any of this, anything mentioned in the interview is exactly news to anyone who follows Anthropic, but that last bit did kind of really jump out at me, given our recent discussion about Dario Amodei's interview that we covered with Ezra Klein, where he sounded pretty similar alarm bells. Like, what did you kind of make of a comment like that?
Yeah, I think it does just continue to validate a lot of what we've said about Anthropic, about Dario's views on where this is all going, about how smart these models are going to get, 1,000-fold in the next few years. Again, it's a really hard thing for the human mind to comprehend. What does that actually mean? What does that look like? And, that partially plays into episode 87, where we tried to present like a one possible path of how the timeline plays out as the stuff gets developed. The 10 out of 10, both scared and, excited, it mirrors how I feel. Like, I often, when we out doing public speaking, one of the first questions I'll get is like, "Well, how do you sleep at night? Aren't you like worried about this going wrong?" I'm like, "Yeah, 100% I am." Like, but I think you have to like in our world, like you have to choose to be optimistic, that, choose to believe that we will find a path forward. And that if enough people are thinking about the responsible human centered application of AI in society, in business and education, that we have a far greater chance of coming out on the positive side of this.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I guess I try not to let myself get too caught up in the worried side, because I find it's counterproductive to me doing everything I can to try and ensure this goes well. Um, so yeah, I feel the same though. I there are definitely days where I'm just a little overwhelmed by it all, and the negative thoughts kind of creep in, and then I kind of choose to like push those aside and focus on the stuff I can control, like sort of one step at a time.
yeah.
Do you ever feel that way? I don't know. Like you and I don't
Yeah.
talk too
Like,
much about the dark side of it. I think we choose to just not not try and live in it. But I don't know. How do you feel about it?
yeah, his response here is funny, but I do like it because it does encapsulate how I feel. But easily
Yeah.
once a week, I'll have this like, oh crap moment
Yeah.
where like, oh, here's some other ways this could go really badly. But then, yeah, to your point, I think I also try to keep a running list where I remind myself, like, here's the things that are exciting me in the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, I look back at even just my own work and what I was spending time on 2, 3, 4 years ago and how dramatically that's changed for the better. And like that kind of brings me back down to earth. But, there's easily a sleepless night every month at the very least, I would say.
Yeah, and I will get into like the what excites you part, but I like with the scientific discovery. So, um, yeah, I shared the story before. Like I got asked at a conference last year. I think it was like March or something of 23, and a lady just like randomly asked me at a lunch, like, what excites you about AI? And I didn't have an answer because I was so caught up in the negative side
Mm,
that I had lost sight of like why I first started exploring AI in the first place a decade or so ago. And, things like scientific discovery and creating more time to spend with my family and friends, and an explosion of entrepreneurship. Like there are all these amazing things. And I guess I try and offset my concern and fear with the things that I see as near term possibilities that are going to be wonderful for all of us.
amen.